Hey there, Stampers. Happy Friday. Welcome to this week's live. My name is Sherry Roth. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Alberta, Canada, and most Fridays I go live with a crafty project, so welcome. And happy December 1st. I can't believe it's December already. Okay, I'm just updating my iPad here. If you are watching, make sure that you say hi. And let me know where you're watching from. It's always fun to see where you guys are watching from. All right, so today I have, I'm working on a challenge that I set for myself, and we are going to create 3 gift card holders because I figure with Christmas right around the corner, maybe you're already finished your Christmas cards, but you might need some gift card holders. So I thought I would share 3 simple gift card holders using scraps of patterned paper. So I am going to be using a Walk in the Park DSP. This is all that I have left of this patterned paper. So I had set a challenge for myself to use up an entire package of paper, and I am so happy to say that I've almost completed it. By the end of today, I should have finished up almost all of it. So here is a little peek at all the projects, and then there's a 2-page scrapbook layout as well that I've created using this patterned paper. And I will be sharing a complete recap of all of that in one of my blog posts next week. I think it'll be Wednesday's blog post, so you can watch for that. All right, so what I've got is I'm going to pull out these 2 bigger pieces. These pieces here, I might end up pulling them out to use for the inside of the cards. I'm not sure. Like these, I kept all these little bits because these trees are great for just kind of fussy cutting and just adding to as little decoration on the inside of your cards. So this is a walk in the park, or a walk in the forest. I keep calling it a walk in the park. A walk in the forest DSP. It is in the September to December 2023 mini catalog, and it is Stampin' Up's product give back right now. So $4 Canadian from every package of this paper sold goes towards, I believe it's the Salvation Army here in Canada. All right. Okay, so I've got these pieces here, and I will walk you through all the measurements and everything and cutting it as we go through. But I want to share the other things that I've pulled out to use. I've also pulled out a full sheet of coordinating pattern paper. So I'm using a sheet of Garden Green because it coordinates with both of these pieces. And then I've got, I think this might actually be a little bit more than half a sheet, but if you've got half a sheet, it'll work, of Pretty Peacock. And again, it's a color that coordinates with both of these pieces. And then you'll need some white. I just pulled out a piece of white cardstock to show you that you'll need some white, but you'll need some white for the insides of your gift card holders and for die cutting, okay? But I've already pre-cut all my white, so I'm gonna set that aside. The stamp set that I'm using today, I'm predominantly just using greetings on these cards, so I'm going to use from the Stars at Night, which is not carrying over. I'm so sad that this is on the retiring list. As of yesterday, it was still available. But I'm going to be using this, wishing you the best and brightest holiday season and the Merry Christmas greeting. And I believe I'm going to use these stars as well. All right. And then I'm not using the hybrid embossing folder and dies that go with this, but I've thrown in the Deckled Circles dies. Love, love, love these. Happy to see that they are carrying over into the next catalog. Love them. I love that you get so many different sizes, and this biggest size is such a great size. So we're going to be using those, and then I'm going to use the Scallop Contour dies. I'm going to use this second smallest one. I believe I use it on all 3 of the gift card holders. So you can pull out products that are similar to that. All right. And then I've got, of course, some embellishments, and I've got some ribbon and some twine. So I'm using the white iridescent ribbon, which is not carrying over. And then, of course, my staple white baker's twine. I've got 2 ink colors. So I've got Garden Green and Pretty Peacock. And then I've got a 1.5 inch circle punch, but you can use any size circle punch or shape. Okay. All right, so let's set these embellishments aside, and we are gonna pull in our paper trimmer, and we're gonna start by cutting into this. Okay, so I've got my paper trimmer. I'm going to, let me check my notes here. I've got the short end at the top, and I'm gonna cut it at 4 1/4 inches. So right down the middle. And then I'm gonna rotate this so that the long edge is at the top, and we're gonna open up the arm because we are gonna score it. And we're gonna score it at 5 1/2 inches. And 9 inches. Okay, and then we're gonna set that aside. We're gonna take this piece, so this is the second half of that garden green cardstock, and we're gonna put the long edge at the top, and we're gonna score it at 4 1/4 inches and 8 1/2 inches. Okay, and then for this one, what we're gonna do is this shorter bit that's here. So you've got, this is 4 1/4, this is 4 1/4. So this, we're gonna cut it from this top score line. We're gonna cut it down to this bottom right-hand corner. So I'm gonna line up the top of that score line with the groove in my paper trimmer, and then the bottom right corner in the groove of my paper trimmer, and I'm gonna cut it diagonally. And then those two pieces I'm gonna set aside. All right, then we're gonna bring in our third piece, which should be at least 1/2 inch or half of a cardstock. So what we wanna do is we want to cut it at 4 inches. So this right now, this piece measures 4 1/2 by 11. We're gonna cut it at 4 inches. And then we're gonna rotate it, and we're gonna cut it at 9 5/8. So if you're using the Stampin' Up! Trimmer, that is 2 ticks after the 9 1/2. Okay, so these two pieces we're gonna set aside over here. I'm not sure if we'll pull those in at some point or not. And then we're gonna score this. So again, we have the long edge at the top. We're gonna score it at 1 3/4. Four 1/2. 5 3/4. Now for this one, before we move it, what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring our cutting blade up, and we're gonna position it with, I need to stand up for this here. We don't wanna cut it all the way across. We just wanna create a slit in that score line. So I'm gonna line it up so that it is about 1/4 inch. We might have to do some adjusting, but 1/4 inch in. So there is a ruler on this arm, and where this arrow is right here, I'm not sure if you guys can see that on the video, but this is where the blade is. So there is a line, there's a groove here, 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 and here. So you can see exactly where the blade is. So this is where the blade is where this groove is. So I've lined it up with 1/4 inch, and I'm gonna trim down to 3 3/4. And again, if it's not exact, that's fine. We can do some adjusting afterwards. We just want to create a slit kind of in the middle of that score line. Okay, then we're going to move the cutting blade out of the way, and we are going to score at 7 inches. Okay. And then we're going to set that aside. So those are all the bases for our 3 gift card holders. Now, let's see here. Now, because I'm cutting from these strips, I need to make sure that I think about this. So I know what sizes I need because my samples were done using a different pattern paper, and I'll share those with you at the end of this video. So for our pattern paper, we need a 3 1/4 by 4 inch piece of paper. And the 4 inches is this way. So if you're doing directional, if your paper is directional, that's just something that you want to make note of. So let me see here. So we want this to be 4 inches. So I'm going to cut this at 3 1/4 inches. So I've got my long edge at the top. Now, because I want to make the most out of this pattern paper, I'm really thinking this through. But as long as you have a piece of scrap paper that measures 3 1/4 by 4 inches, you'll be good. Okay, so I'm cutting it at 3 1/4, and then I'm going to rotate it and cut it at 4 inches. Okay, so that is piece number 1. That goes with our the first one that we cut. And then we need a piece that measures 1 3/4 by 4. So this isn't 4 inches, so I can't use this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring this piece back and I'm gonna cut this at 4 inches. And by 1 3/4. So then I'm gonna rotate it, cut it at 1 3/4. And I'm gonna use the back side of this one. So these two go really, really well together. So this one was 1 3/4 by 4 inches. And you'll be able to find all these measurements over on my blog. And then I'm gonna move this down and cut it at 2 inches. Like that. And again, I think I'm gonna use this pattern as well, this side. Okay, so that was 2 by 4. All right, so now I have these 4 pieces of scraps left. So from our first gift card holder, those 3 pieces of pattern paper that we just cut, and that first gift card base, that's all for the first one. Now we're gonna work on the second one. So the second one, I need a piece that measures 3 5/8 by 3 5/8. And I actually don't know if this is gonna work. I think I cut into the wrong piece. So let's see what we can do here. This is 4 inches. We might have to make an adjustment here. Okay, let's do the last one first. Okay, so now here I'm gonna pull this piece out, and this is 1 3/4. So I'm gonna cut it at 8 inches. I'm gonna cut it at 8 inches. And then I'm gonna cut it at 7 inches and this 1 inch piece. So these 2 pieces I'm going to use. All right, now, I think you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do these 2 cards, and we'll come back to the last one because I cut it incorrectly, and I'm gonna have to do some juggling with these patterns. I can still make it work, I know I can, but we will come back to our scraps. Okay, so we're gonna pull out our first one. We'll slide these 2 out of the way. Now the other 2 pieces that I have to go with this first gift card holder is I've got a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of white. That's going to be for the inside. And then I've die cut that second smallest scallop contour rectangle. Okay. All right, let's do our stamping first. So we're gonna bring in this greeting, wishing you the best and brightest holiday season. And we'll stamp it in some garden green. And we're gonna stamp it on this label shape. So we just wanna make sure it's straight. So of course you can use any, I don't know if that is straight. I think that's gonna be crooked. Oh, it's not too bad. Okay. So you can use any pattern paper for these. They don't have to be Christmas. You can make them for birthdays or thank you. You can make them for any occasion. And you can use any greetings that you have. So just have a look at stuff that you have in your stash. And I would encourage you to look to your scraps first, just because all of these gift card holders are great for scraps, and then you can pull in coordinating cardstock. Okay, so now this one, we're gonna fold that center score line, and then we're gonna fold this bit in like this. So this is gonna be, it's gonna open like this. So this smaller bit, the one that's 1 3/4, we're gonna take that and we're gonna attach it to that inside flap. That is going to go on here like that. And then this is where our circle punch is going to come into play. So I'm using a 1.5 inch circle punch, but you can use any size or even any shape. You just want to create a little notch here. Okay. And then I'm just going to use my bone folder, make sure this is nice and crisp. I'm going to add some adhesive to create a little pocket. So I'm just using multi-purpose glue that I have in a little bottle that I picked up on Amazon. And I will post in the description a link to where you can find those bottles. I get lots of questions about the bottle. Okay, so we're gonna do that. And I think we'll put our punch on top of here for now, just so that that sets. We're gonna bring in our layer for the inside and then our 2-inch strip of pattern paper. We're gonna line this up with the right-hand side of our white. And then we're gonna add adhesive to the back of this. And add this on here. All right. Okay, so it's gonna open like that. Now we're gonna decorate this outside bit. So I'm gonna put this paper on with the trees face up this time. So like that, and then you can go ahead and you can add this, but I always like to add a few little embellishments or some ribbon just to add some texture. So I'm gonna bring in some of the iridescent white twine, and we'll just trim this. Let's use my ribbon scissors here. So I'm just gonna fold it, and then we'll add a little bit of seal adhesive right about here. You can also use mini glue dots to adhere this. Just fold it in half. I'm gonna put it at a little bit of an angle. And then we'll take some white twine and I'm gonna tie a nice big bow. So I think this is just, this combination of ribbon and twine, it's my go-to for adding a little bit of texture to projects. I just love the way it looks. So trim those ends so they're even. Set that aside. We'll grab a mini glue dot. And we'll put this right on here. We'll add our bow going at an angle. Doesn't matter if it's twisted because it's going to get covered over. And then I'm going to bring in some dimensionals. And I'm going to add 3 dimensionals, but I'm only going to add them to the left-hand side. So right like that. Because this is going to hang off the edge and we don't want to stick our paper closed. This is perfect for you, Louise, then, if you need a couple gift card holders. All right. So we'll just adjust that so that I don't cover the whole thing over. And we'll pop that down like that. And then we can finish it off with some embellishments. Now I pulled these out. I can't even remember what colors these are. But let's see, do the green ones work or are they a different color green? I might have to pull out a different embellishment. Let's see. I think these would work better with the Pretty Peacock. The purple ones definitely don't work. And the blue ones could kind of work. Let's see. Let's give it a shot. See what they look like on here. Let's put one over here. And then we'll do one here, and then we'll grab a little one and put a little one there. Yeah, I think those blue ones work. And let me grab a gift card holder so I can show you how it works. I think it's pretty obvious. But so then we've got a gift card, and that just slides in there like that. So very quick and easy. If you wanted to make multiples of these, you could make 2 of them from one piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. All right, so a quick and easy gift card holder. And then, all right, we'll slide that one over there. And then we're gonna move on to our last one. So this is the third one. We'll come back to our second one just because we had a little mishap with our DSP. Okay, let's slide this aside. All right, so now for this one, I'll pull in my bits that I've got so I can show you. All right, so I have got a piece of white cardstock that measures 2.5 by 3 3/4. So you'll need that. And then I've got that same scallop rectangle. So this is the second smallest scallop rectangle from the scallop contour dies. And then I've got the 4th and 5th smallest deckled circles. Okay, so I've got one of each cut from white. And then I've got my 2 pieces of pattern paper and my base. Okay, so let's start with our stamping. So we are gonna take that same greeting, and I'm gonna clean this because I wanna use Pretty Peacock this time. So I'm just gonna clean that really quickly. Okay. So I'm gonna grab some Pretty Peacock and I'm gonna stamp that same greeting on this rectangle. And then I'm gonna take the Merry Christmas from that same stamp set, and on the smaller of the 2 deckled circles, I'm gonna stamp Merry Christmas in Pretty Peacock. And then I'm gonna bring in some Garden Green. And the little snowflakes, I'm gonna stamp a few of those on here. And I don't want all my snowflakes to look like they're the same. All right, we'll just make sure that there's no ink on there. Okay. Now all of our stamping is done. We're ready to start assembling. Amy, I am using the Stars at Night stamp set. So I'm not using the entire bundle. I've combined this stamp set, so the greetings and then the stars from this stamp set, and I've combined them with the scallop contour dies and the deckled circles. Okay, so we are gonna start folding along our score lines. So I'm gonna fold in here. So this is the narrower end. And then I'm gonna fold in here. And then this one with the slit is gonna get folded back. And then this one's gonna get folded in. So I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so it's gonna open up like this. So you've got kind of a W with an extra flap. So the one with the slit folds to a mountain fold. And then we've got three valley folds. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it's gonna look like that. And this slit, we want to make sure that our gift card fits in here. So I'm gonna slide this in just to make sure it's wide enough. And it's not quite wide enough. Remember, we left about 1/4 of an inch when we slit it. So just take your snips and just trim a little bit more. And I was conservative with the cutting just because I didn't want to get too close. So let's see if that's big enough. So I just slit it a little bit more on both sides. Yeah, my gift card fits in now. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is with the slit here, like this, I'm gonna take my liquid glue. You can also use tear and tape, and just right along the edges, I'm gonna add a little bit of glue to seal that. Okay, so it's these two pieces in the middle that will get stuck together. All right. Okay, so let's add our punch on there and set that aside, let it sit for a minute. And we're gonna bring our focal point in and we'll work on that. Okay, so we've got our larger circle. We're gonna add a little bit of seal adhesive or mini glue dots because we're gonna take some ribbon and we're basically gonna do the same thing that I just did on the first card. I'm just gonna put this on an angle. We'll trim. And then we'll grab some, I'm just gonna cover this over here. We'll grab some twine. We'll tie a bow with some big loops. Trim it, grab a mini glue dot. Add that on there. And you wanna make sure that your twine, like your loops, are big enough so that they stick out so that you can see them in behind this circle when we add it. And then we're gonna add some dimensionals to the back of this. And then this is gonna go right on top. And isn't that a simple yet beautiful focal point? So pretty. Okay, let's bring this piece back. So this is gonna open like this. All right, so we're gonna add our white to the inside. This is where you would write your greeting. So this is gonna go right here, like that. And then remember this extra scrap that we had? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this in half. So long side at the top, I'm just gonna snip it in half and add some glue to the back. I'm gonna put this in the center of this bottom flap and this piece on this side. So this is going to give the illusion that it's one big long piece. You just want to make sure it looks relatively even. And then this piece is going to get some dimensionals. And we're going to pop this over top in the center so that you'll never know that that was 2 pieces. And then your gift card slides in here and creates almost like a little pop-up. So it stands like this. When you open it up, it's so cute. So then you would write your message on there, but now we need a way for it to close. So we're going to create a little belly band. That's what this piece is for. So I'm just going to position this on here, add this. I'm going to have my seam in the front because that will allow me to cover the seam over with my focal point. And when you put your belly band around, you don't want it to be snug. You want it to slide off nicely. So I'm making sure that it's not too snug. I'll add a little bit of adhesive here and a little bit here. And then put that across. So this will slide nicely. I'll just let that set. And then we're going to add some dimensionals to the back of this. And you want to make sure your dimensionals, actually, I'm going to put my dimensionals on here because you want to make sure that they don't overhang because you don't want to stick it to your card. You want your belly band to be able to move. So then this, just make sure my words are straight. This is going to go on here like that. And there we go. So this just slides off and this opens up and we've got this fun gift card holder. There we go. And then here is another one that I did using, I think it's called the Snowflake Magic DSP, if I remember correctly. So same colors, I just used a different pattern paper. This pattern paper is actually sold out, but I wanted to use up some scraps. This one I added some little pearls to it, and then it slides open. We've got our gift card, and there's my scrap left over from my strip. So again, another really simple gift card holder. Actually, let's pop the gift card out of here so that I can show you the next one. All right, slide that back on. So that is that was actually meant to be number 3. Now we're gonna go back to this one. I'm gonna show you what card looks like first, just so you can see how I intended to use it. But because I cut my scraps the wrong way, we're gonna have to make a slight adjustment. Okay, so this is how the card intends to look. So I wanted to have one big piece here. So this piece measures 3 5/8 by 3 5/8. So if you have a scrap big enough, then you can do it this way. Or if you have smaller scraps, then you'll do it the way I show you here. And then it opens up. I have another little strip here and some more scraps here. Okay, so let's see here. This piece, I actually don't think we're going to end up using that, so you can set that aside. We're going to fold our... Did I do this backwards too? I did do it backwards. Oh, no, I didn't. No, I did. Okay. So we're going to fold that up and then fold this in. Okay, so we need pattern paper for here. We need pattern paper for here, and then a strip to go across. The other pieces that I've gone ahead and I've pre-cut, I have a piece of white that measures, and I think I'm missing a piece of white. I'll have to grab some more white. So this piece measures 4 by 4. This is going to be for the inside. I've got that second smallest scallop contour die, and then the 4th smallest deckled circle cut. Okay, and I do want one more piece of white. So let's just cover this over. We'll cut our white and then cut into our DSP and see what we can come up with. Okay, So this white piece that I brought out, we will cut this to 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. So I'm just going to cut that. All right. Okay, so that is going to be for the inside, or so the outside. And now we need our pattern paper. So I'm going to go back to my scraps. So remember, if you've got a scrap large enough, you can cut a piece that measures 3 5/8 by 3 5/8, and you don't need to piece it together like I'm going to end up piecing mine together. Now I need, for this triangle, I need a piece that measures 2 1/4 by 4. Okay, maybe we'll work on, so we need 3 5/8. So this is 4. Okay, so I'm going to cut this down to 3 5/8, which is, if you're using the Stampin' Up! Trimmer, it's 2 ticks after the 3 1/2 inch mark. So 3 5/8, and let's cut this 2 1/2. Okay, so this can go on here like this, and then I can use another piece to go along the bottom. I could do this along the bottom, although I think I like the stripes better. This one isn't long enough, so we'll do this one, and we need it to be, if we did it 1 1/4 inches, that should be plenty. 1 inch, actually we'll do 1 3/8 inches just to be on the safe side. 1 3/8 inches, hang on, 2 1/4. I'm just going to measure this just to see. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 3 5/8. No, I'm going to do 1 inch, 1 1/4 inches, sorry. This is throwing me all off, having to readjust here, and then 3 5/8. So 1 1/4 inches by 3 5/8 inches, and that will work just fine. And then we can put our focal point right here instead of maybe in the middle. Where there's a will, there's a way. Okay, so I don't think I'm going to use that piece. Let's see how much we have here. This is not big enough to do my little triangle. Oh, but it might be this way. Let's see, what's 4 inches? I think we can make this work. Okay, so we need a piece that measures 2 1/4 by 4. So I'm going to cut 4 inches, and then I'm going to rotate it and cut 2 1/4. Now, there's a little corner off of here, but we are going to use it to cover this. So if I put this like, how can I do this? Oh, our trees are, I don't think this is going to work. This isn't going to work. The only way it'll work is like this, but then our trees are upside down. So that's not going to work. Okay, then you know what we'll do? We're going to just make some adjustments. I'm going to trim this piece down a little bit shorter, and then we'll emboss it, and we'll use this scrap piece. Okay, so let's trim this down. This is 4 1/4. We'll trim it down to 4 inches, and let's see if that will work here. Yeah, that gives us a little bit of a border. It is tone on tone, but if we emboss it, that will give it a little bit of variation. And we can always we can add some of these little trees on here, or we could add maybe a strip across the bottom. So there's ways that we can dress it up with our scraps. Okay, so let's go back to, we're gonna assemble this. We'll work on that inside piece. Actually, while we do this, let's seal our pocket here. So we're just going to add adhesive right along the bottom. Okay, and then I'll bring back my punch, set that on top just to let it sit. This is going to go along the top so that we have just a smidge of a white border. So it's about 1/16 of an inch around the edges. And this will make it so that it's got a nice even border. So it will overlap just a little bit. And I think what we'll do for the ribbon this time, I have this scrap of ribbon. I think we're going to just put this ribbon across here. And I'll flip it over. Fold that over. And we can bring in our card base. This is going to go on here so that we have a little bit of a wider green border. I love the look of varying the sizes of borders on your cards. I think it just makes them look a little bit more professional rather than having all the same borders. So this has a nice wide border, and then we have just a narrow white border. Okay, so now we can do our stamping. I'm going to put this back on there. So we're going to bring in these two pieces, and we'll use, yeah, and this was a little bit of an issue this time. Hey, it took a little bit for me to figure out what I was going to do with the cover. Threw me off, but you know what? That's the great thing about scraps, and with just a little bit of creativity and experimentation, you can always make them work. All right, I think I'm going to use Pretty Peacock. Okay, so I'm going to use, again, this great greeting. I love this greeting. That's why I pulled out this stamp set. I like the font. I like the greeting. So disappointed that it's not carrying over. So if it's on your wish list, make sure you pick it up sooner than later. I noticed that the dies and the embossing folder are on low inventory as of yesterday. I'm not sure about today. So, and once they're gone, they're gone. Okay. All right. Oh, and we need a little scrap for the inside as well. So let's see, do we have any 4-inch length pieces left? We do. Do I want my stripes? We'll do the stripes going this way. Okay, let's cut this a little bit smaller. We're going to cut it about 1 inch. And we'll put this across the top. Like that. And then, you know what, since we've got some scraps here, let's cut out a few of these trees to add to the inside. These are so easy to cut. They're basically just triangles. Now, when I fussy cut, I make sure to move my patterned paper or my cardstock, not my scissors. So I'm going to cut out a few different ones here. And I like to leave a little bit of a white border as well, because then it doesn't show your flaws. It's impossible to cut perfectly like a die does. So if you leave that little bit of a white border, it's a little bit more forgiving. All right. So we're going to add these 2 trees down here. I'll put one on flat and pop one up. one on flat, and then this one I'll grab some mini dimensionals. Just add one to the back. Okay, we can bring our card. Add this to the inside. So that will be where you write your message. And then we'll finish our outside here. So this is gonna go on here like that. I feel like it still needs some twine, but I think what I'm gonna do is, instead of doing what I did on the last two cards, I'm gonna slide this underneath here, and I'm gonna tie a bow. And I'll just pinch it. And then this can go on with some dimensionals. And I feel like this still needs something, so I'm gonna add some dots to this. Where are my... So I'm gonna bring these in, and I'm gonna do one big one and then a smaller one on either side. Oh, it's not quite straight. Just to fill in a little bit more of that space for that circle. And that turned out okay on the front. I like that. Okay, so let's finish up the inside. We could just leave it like this, actually, and tuck the gift card in, and then this goes on here like this. But I do want to add a little bit of something. I feel like that is kind of just a little bit plain. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to emboss with it. So I just need to grab an embossing folder. So just bear with me for just a sec. Okay, so I'm going to use this snowflake embossing folder, and we'll just pop this in here. I'll bring in my die cutting machine. So now this is a 3D embossing folder. So we're going to use platform number 1 with our embossing folder. And then we're going to use platform number 4. And we'll just slide that through. And then we can get this out of the way. And so now we've got a little bit of added texture to that, which is going to dress this up just a little bit. So we'll add that on to here. And plus then we used that little scrap that we had left of the garden green as well. So we'll add that on there. Oh, that's perfect. All right. And then this is going to go on here, and I'm going to use some dimensionals for this. Slide this out of the way. And again, I'm just going to add 2 dimensionals on this side. Now you can add a dimensional on this side because you'll still be able to slide your gift card in. You can see that it kind of flaps up like that. So you could add a dimensional there, and this would still, actually, you know what? I think I am going to, because it flaps just a little bit. So we're just going to tuck dimensional right here. And then your gift card just slides into your pocket like that. So cute. I love how it turned out. That was a happy accident. So this is how it was initially, my initial plan was this one, where we used a solid piece as the patterned paper. But here I just made do with the scraps that I had left and used a couple smaller pieces. And then here's the inside. Super fun. So let me bring back the 3 gift card holders that we created. So here was the first one. Let's slide this stuff out of the way. So here's the first one, and here's the first one using the Snowflake Magic. So this Snowflake Magic one, I accidentally cut this one the wrong size. I cut it 1 3/4. So I had cut 2 pieces that measure 1 3/4. So it was a little bit too short. So I just ad-libbed and I added a little piece of Lost Lagoon cut with the scallop border die from the Scallop Contours dies. So that was my way to fix that little oopsie. Okay, and then here is the other one. Again, this one had a little mistake as well that we fumbled through. And then these two look the same, but they are different pattern papers. I stuck with the same colors. So there's the other one. So we've got 3 great, simple gift card ideas using scraps of pattern paper. So I hope that inspires you guys to create, to play with your scraps of paper, especially if you need some gift card holders for this holiday season. All right, so thanks so much for watching. I will go back and include a full supply list in the description of this video. And if you live in Canada and don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love for you to shop my online store. All right, thanks so much for watching. Take care, guys.